Hey, Mike, how are you today?
I'm doing phenomenal. It's
Excellent.
spring.
Yes, it is. And there's nothing like that sunshine. It sure feels good.
Yeah.
But it's been rare.
Yeah.
The last
Sunshine.
few months, I'm over the rain.
Yeah.
It can stop anytime now for a
well,
while.
I could do without the tornadoes.
Yeah, it's true.
So the one went through up in Oklahoma, just a little ways up 35. So it's that time of year.
Yes, sir.
So Rowdy's episode came out today.
Yeah, I listened to it earlier, actually on my way into work, and it's really good. He's doing some really, really good stuff. I've spoke at that National Drowning Prevention Coalition before, and man, it's kind of tough to listen to when you hear the stories. And I think his message is just so important. And I mean, to have a man of that caliber, be a part of our industry and really be pushing the pool safety, that's a big deal.
Yeah. The memories, the one thing that he said that kind of struck me was, we create memories for people.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're very special memories that people remember, all their lives, events that take place around water in the pool. And he said, when you have passing with a drowning, you remove those memories from people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get to participate and have those memories, which is, that's hard. So, we always want to remember good times and with family and friends, and water is probably one of the best unifiers where we can all get together and have a good time.
I agree. And, getting back to the whole swimming thing, I personally feel like, my kids could swim really early because we spent a lot of time in the pool. But I just believe that them learning how to swim so young, gaining that confidence was so good for everything else in their life.
Oh, sure. It's a
realize,
building block.
Yeah, exactly. Although, we had an accident, here and there. We were at a customer's house one time, and I told Mitchell, he's 2. He can swim. You can stay away from the pool, son. Lo and behold, I heard him plop in, and I fish him out by the back of his shirt. But it can happen really quick. And I think that's one of the things Rowdy talked about is how quickly it can happen. Even when you think you're paying attention, and he brought up the distraction thing, which is a huge issue.
Yeah. So May is Water Safety Month. So we released Rowdy's episode before May happened. Mm. And the reason why is we want to, his suggestion was we want everyone to be advocates for water safety. Mm-hmm. And so we want people to think about this as much as possible. So every week this month of May, we're going to talk about different things about water safety.
Yeah, it's a great thing. It's a great topic.
And just to try to provide more things for people to think about, especially this is the time of year as people get ready for, spending time in the water and being outside and things like that. So one of the questions that came up from his discussion is he mentioned when we were talking and between the two of us, something called ISR. Mm-hmm. And I had several people reach out to me and say, what in the world is ISR?
Infant Swimming Resources?
It's an interesting program, and there's some people that feel real strongly about it, and some people that don't feel as comfortable with it. So again, our feeling is we're here to give people information, and therefore they can do some research and figure out what's going to be best for them in this whole process. But I have a friend that is very much an advocate of this. So this program started in 1966, so quite a while ago. And she went through it when she was 6 months old, and her mother put her through the program. And she then in turn put her son through the program. So the program, when she went through it at 6 months of age.
This is the one where they teach the kids to come up, get their heads above the water, and float on their back.
To float on your back, yes.
So they're not sinking like a rock.
Correct. So it's a program that it's a 6-week program from what I understand. And one of the things that was suggested as a con to this program is the time commitment that's involved. And it's not, so what they said was really critical was the consistency to teach someone that's, not even a year old.
Mm-hmm.
They're not talking or walking yet, but, basically how to float in a swimming pool. And so it's a 5-day a week for 6 weeks, 10 minutes a day.
So repetition, short amount of time. Because, how much of an attention span does a 9-month-old have?
Well, I don't know. If you're trying to take their food away, sometimes they can have pretty good attention. There is that. And so she said that they put her son through this program when he was 9 months old. And she said it was amazing. 6 weeks later, he did his test. And when he was tested, they try to make you comfortable with whatever situation you're in. So he was tested in with winter clothing on, and he went into the pool and very comfortably, rolled over and, was able to float with that situation and just was very comfortable. Now they have a second layer to the program, which is what they call swim, float, swim. So they teach them the second season. She said they did it the following year. Again, another 6-week program, but they taught them to swim and then roll over and float for a minute and then roll back over and swim again. And so basically teaching them the swimming process, not just floating. So, but it's basically making them comfortable around water and very comfortable swimming. So now some people say that there's been studies that this might cause trauma with children around water and swimming.
That's interesting.
But all I've ever heard is that everybody was thrilled with the process of it, which she was. She said by the time he was 2 years old, he's swimming to the bottom of this pool and swimming around just like a dolphin in the pool. He loves water. He doesn't wear floaties. She said that he never wore floaties. So, that's just a particular program. Now, some people prefer other methods to learn to swim, but that is one method which teaches people at a very young age how to feel comfortable around water.
That's a good thing. My uncle, who passed a couple of years ago, who was like a dad to me, he could never swim. He was around the water. I've probably talked about this before. He would get in inner tubes and get on rafts. And in the pool, I can remember even when I was pretty young, he just stayed in the shallow end. But he never learned to swim. And I never understood why.
Well, I think in some parts of the country, there's not as many opportunities to learn to swim because of the season and availability. I grew up in Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah, there's not a lot of rivers and lakes there.
Not a lot of rivers and lakes there. So now I learned, my mom did not know how to swim. She grew up in Kansas. Okay, there wasn't a lot of lakes and ponds around there, although, there's the stock tank on the family farm, that type of thing. But, it was just, I think some people weren't exposed to it. So my mom was terrified of water. And so we were born on the Jersey Shore before there was a TV show, Jersey Shore. But that's where we were born. And she literally would toss us into the ocean and, have us swim back to the shore. And that's how we learned how to swim, was just getting tossed in. But she wanted us to have fun around water, not be afraid of water like she was.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a little bit more to think about, and we'll go through some more things next week.
It was a good episode.
Yeah. He really appreciated him coming on and sharing with us. And we're going to dive into more of what he does and, some more information as we go.
Hey, everyone, we've got a new segment on here, and Mike came up with a great name. It's called Barbecue Bits. And it's just going to be a series that's going to last for months of little bits and pieces of different barbecue items and different things that you can do in and around an outdoor kitchen and the products that are available. Him and I spent some time with Texas Outfitters and created a bunch of videos and a bunch of information. And we're just going to send this out in bits during all the different episodes that we have as we move forward.
So today I wanted to kind of go over one thing that really influences my designs and the design process. And I think you go along with the same exact philosophy. And that's what I call sight lines.
Absolutely.
So sight lines to me are, you're going to look at a pool in your backyard environment 365 days out of the year. How often do you swim?
Not 365 days a year.
Yeah. So I have people ask me all the time, how often do you use your pool, Mike? And my answer is 365 days out of the year.
Well, back when, in Phoenix, when we had a pool and spa, I mean, we did, when the kids were little, we probably were in nearly every day. I mean, there wasn't anything to hold them back.
Right. So, well, here it does get cold seasonally. Yeah. And so, but I still use the space all the time. And part of it is just looking at it.
For sure.
Yeah. And some people, that's not important to them.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not important to you to have something to pretty look at, you can turn the podcast off or fast forward to barbecue beds.
There you go.
But most people, when they build an environment, they want something that's going to look pretty in their backyard.
It's kind of the point of doing it.
Well, it's part of it. So, but yes, with that, understanding sight lines is an important process to go through. And I think a lot of designers that come out, this isn't something they think about at all. They just grab a template out of the template library and put it in the backyard and say, hey, how does this kind of look? And when you work with sight lines, you're paying particular attention to the minute details of the architecture of the home. So it's not just where the windows are, because the windows, well, that's where you look through, but where are you looking through from?
Right.
There's
some windows you're not just going to stand in front of or walk by or whatever else. So the point of getting in the house is to see where the true sight lines are. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the ideal way to figure out sight lines and review them with a client is if I have an architectural set of plans, and that way I can actually sit there and I can say, okay, there's the key places that we're going to look from, and I can mark those on the plans. And so you can see exactly what the sight lines are from all these different locations.
You're talking about an architectural set of home plans that shows the layout of the house so that we can get a good visual of where the rooms are, what the spaces look like, and how those views are going to turn out.
Correct. And it's not just the exterior windows, because what I'm wanting to understand is where the doorways are in correlation to those windows, because you have pathways that you walk through your house every single day. Okay. And you look out the windows and you see something. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if your design is set up to line up with those pathways that you walk all the time, then you get something creative to look at and enjoy all the time. So to me, there's a lot of different places that I start with, but sometimes there's not a set of architectural drawings. Mm-hmm. And so then the challenge becomes, well, how do you create this? Is there a particular thing that you do to help create that in your process?
Most of the houses I get into. The ones that I don't, I'm asking questions. Is that the master bedroom? Is that your living room? Is that your front door? What's important to you? Because to your point earlier, some people don't care. Other people, that's the primary care.
Correct.
Is the views. And it's not even just out of the house. It's what are the neighbors' views of the backyard?
Oh, sure.
There's all kinds of stuff. The site views are, they're all over the place.
So,
that's why you have to go to the site.
Yes. So when you look, one of the things you said is you try to go into the house. So when I go into the house, one of the things I like to make the client aware of is this is something I'd like to do. So they can properly feel comfortable with me coming into their home. Because some people are like, I'm raising 5 kids. My house is a wreck inside. I'd rather just keep you outside and not take you into the chaos of my normal day life. And I'm always like, I raised kids.
Right.
I have chaos in my life. My house is not something you're going to see in Architectural Digest that I go home to every night. So, I'm comfortable going into your home. So if I can go into your home, then what happens is I can actually photograph those sight lines. So when I sit down and do design work, even if I don't have an architectural plan, I've got the photographs that I can see. So, and then what I want to know is, once we've discussed all those sight lines, what's your priorities? What's your number one, number two, number three, number four, number five? So do you have a favorite sight line from your house looking out?
At our current house?
Well, I understand you just moved in, so,
The pool is right outside the door.
right.
I mean, it's literally, it's a horseshoe-shaped house, and that pool is in that horseshoe.
Okay.
It's 3 feet off the house.
So you get a line of sight from every room.
We see nothing but pool.
Swimming pool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Heather's got a great view out of her office. I've got a great view out of my office. We've got a great view out of the living room. There's no view out of the kitchen. She's not going to stand at the kitchen sink and be able to see anything out back. But it has really good views.
Yeah.
It makes it really nice.
Water calming you from all directions.
I'm a water person, period, anyway.
Yeah.
Get me around water.
There are sight lines that everybody thinks about. So you got the family room view, you got the front door view, you've got the dining room view. You might have a view from the kitchen sink or something like that. But I think there's even other areas that you line up and look through even more than that every single day. So
balconies, stairways.
Yeah.
You name it.
Yeah. So when I walk down a set of stairs from the second floor to the first floor, I'm going to be looking out a window from that exact angle. What am I going to see?
Dang, I sure love that pool.
Yeah. So, you want to put focal points on those primary sight lines, and especially when sight lines cross.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have 2 or 3 different lines and they all cross in one spot. Well, something real important needs to be there.
Yeah.
Not just, oh, well, there's maybe something back there if you're thinking about it. So, I look at, in the master bedroom, there could be a sight line from the master bedroom where the headboard is looking out the windows. It could be where you walk out of the master bathroom into the space looking out the windows. Or maybe it's when you walk into the master bedroom from, the lit family room. There's all kinds there could be 3 different sight lines there that are different. Now, some people are like, master bedroom, are you kidding me? We shut the blinds there. We don't ever look out. We come in here and sleep. But other people, it's a real important view. So it just depends. When you leave the kitchen pantry and walk into the kitchen, how many times a day do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And are you looking through some windows? Is there a sight line there? Are you looking from the kitchen sink? Is one, I come from the garage into the home space. What's the sight line that I'm looking at? So anyway, those are all different sight lines from inside. But if I take those photographs, the other thing is I can see what I'm seeing out those windows from the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Their sight lines in. Okay, so now I want to create privacy. Those are places that I want to put key things, whether I can put, like I went and photographed a job today. We built the cabana. And all of a sudden the neighbor disappeared from the family room in the front entry of the house. As you walked in, now you see the cabana. You don't see the neighbor's house anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have privacy, plus we have a focal point to look at. But, you look at whether we can do it with a structure or plants or whatever we're going to do to create some privacy from those different areas. That's beneficial to see from the photographs as well.
Yeah, I've got a job that's almost done that I got the clients to really listen, and they just let me do my thing. And there's not a room, there's not a window in that house doesn't see something pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's as you said, it's like a focal point, but it's something more than that. It's how you look at it and go, yeah, I want to be out there.
Oh yeah. It's an awesome space, and you get to enjoy it again, 365 days of the year when you're looking at that space. So,
but to your point earlier, it's like, depends on the person, because there's some people, and it's totally fine. They want their pool clear out in the back corner. They want a fence around it. They're only going there just to swim. They could care less whether they really see it or not.
No. So there's 4 things that's important for me to ask you when I first come out. So the first thing is, I have to understand the priorities of these 4 different things. So the first thing is general activity. We're just going to hang out, float around, play games, enjoy the pool. Second thing I'm going to use the pool for is exercise. Third thing I was going to entertain around it. If I'm looking for those 3 things and only those 3 things, sight lines aren't real important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The fourth thing is, do you want it to look nice? Okay. If you want it to look nice, then sight lines are real important. In fact, we want to have focal points, as you mentioned, and features. So I talk about, that's where I want to put fire, or that's where I want to put water. That's where I want to put the spa. That's where I want the fire pit to be. That's where I want key architectural plants to be. So, creating different things. Maybe there's pots in those areas or raised planters or, all kinds of different focal points we can put on those, where those sight lines go. And sometimes there can be multiple features on one sight line. If it's a real predominant view, maybe we've got a perimeter overflow spa, and then we've got the pool, and then we've got a water feature in the back, and then there's a fire feature, and then there's a piece of sculpture, and maybe there's structures, framing. I mean, you can have all this layers of things that, work off as something that you can enjoy.
Sunken fire pit out in the middle of the pool.
Oh, yeah.
Step pads over the pool.
Yeah.
Fire feature. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much.
So one of the things with sight lines is when you lay these sight lines out, they usually cross not real close to the house, but farther away from the house.
Right.
So one of the things has to do with the orientation of the pool.
Mm-hmm.
So almost everybody, when they orient the pool, they make it parallel to the house. That's what most people think about because that's what they've seen most of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I like to turn a lot of pools 90 degrees from that.
Agree.
Yeah, because now what happens is the focal point that's the end of that pool is more visible from all the different sight lines that you have.
It's almost like the, understanding all of that, as well as some of the other things we've talked about, the smells, the privacy from the neighbors, almost dictates where the pool should go to some degree. But then we need to understand all the features. I mean, when we talk to Kirk, when we talk to, Jason, they've got we've all got our little, processes, if you will. But we need to understand all of that, where they're at, in order to produce something that they're going to like.
Right.
That's why we ask the questions we ask. That's why we spend the time we do. We're not taking an order, trying to understand the best way to give you the best possible pool in the best location in your yard.
Well, it's a huge investment.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that happens is when you set this up, a lot of times people are like, they'll come over and they'll be like, well, that's amazing. I walked through your front door and I saw the spectacular view. It's amazing how that just happened with your project here. And then, oh, wait, I'm over here and there's this cool focal point.
How did that happen?
Just randomly happened to land there. And so what happens is you design this space for you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to sell your house, these are the homes that people walk into. And it doesn't have to be a crazy swimming pool. Okay, it can be something simple. But if it's something simple, you certainly want to put your features where they're going to be enjoyed the most, which is where your primary lines of sight are and where all these features fit together. And so if you studied this a little bit, even the simplest project can be really spectacular because you enjoy it to its maximum benefit. Mm-hmm. And so when you go to sell your house, these are the projects that people are like, oh man, I just can't believe this backyard. This is the place we want to live. And so they sell easier. So your investment comes back. So
every single time.
Yeah. So it's just a thought process to go through. And the challenge is if you don't have a designer that's not thinking like this, then you're not going to end up with these elements unless you, the homeowner, say, these are things that I want. These are things that are important to me. So it's just helpful whether you're working with a designer that has that knowledge base or if you have that knowledge base, you can still achieve what you're trying to achieve, which is a really special space.
When we were talking to Jason Brownlee, and I know you're involved with instruction as well, one of the things he said was that less than 10%, I think it was, of the industry has actually gone to any training.
Correct. Yeah. So that's why we do the podcast. We want to offer you information so you know things to look for when you're doing this process, because the challenge is this isn't like a pair of shoes that you don't like and you go get a new pair. It's kind of a permanent thing that you're dealing with. So,
Yes.
Thinking through whether someone guides you through this process or you guide them, it's helpful to end up in the right places for you and your family.
I think it's yet another reason, and I'm, saying it again, but the site visits, I don't know how you can do this from 1,000 miles away or 2,500 miles away and actually be able to deliver something really spectacular. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying the odds kind of work against you because you haven't been there.
Right. So I can look at an architectural plan and I can get a certain level.
Yeah.
But does that help me understand all the sight lines coming from the outside in? So there's just layers to this that, yes, that's why I love what I do. And I get the opportunity to go there and experience it. And, I think it makes me a better designer.
I agree.
And that's all we're trying to do is provide the best that we can for you and your family. So
Coming up next, more barbecue bits. We've got a ton of them.
okay, so the griddle has gotten really popular. Okay, and so we get more and more requests for griddles. And if you're going to talk about the best griddle to install, where would you start?
We would definitely start it with Evo, another American-made product out of Tualatin, Oregon, all American-made. But why Evo? I'm just not going to sell a product. What's the value-added piece of this? Well, there's two types of griddles as a consumer you want to look at, and as specifiers, and salespeople, we want to go into a discovery phase. Is this the right griddle? In other words, is this going to be a connection piece? Am I going to have, like Kevin just did and you have done, the radius bars? We're doing a particular job that has a full radius bar that wraps around the Evo. This is recessed in it. I believe it's a deck pond or a granite top. We're going to omit this piece here, and now I'm connected with the whole family.
Right.
It's really important. Or are you going to buy a griddle that's going to be in line with the equipment away from that entertainment area? That's the questions we ask. Well, a lot of people want a connection piece. If you don't configure table and chairs by this, you will get a lot of congregation around this. Everybody wants to cook on Evo. They make a commercial side, like Mongolian grill. Then they make a residential side. They make two versions. They call a 25, and they make a 30.
Okay.
We do 30 in Texas because bigger is better. And this is carbon steel plate that has been seasoned from the factory, and it gets better and better every time that you cook on it. 2-zone burner system. I've got an interior burner and an exterior burner. Can you bake on this? Yes, there's baking racks that are on here. You can do pizzas on here. I didn't believe this at first. I have Evo foodie guys that come in here and say, here's my pizza. And I have not learned how to do a pizza. I'm more of a alpha oven guy, but you can do it on here.
When I first came to see you the first time, year and a half ago or so, or whenever it was, that is the one thing that has always stuck in my mind is that Evo. Because when my kids were growing up, we loved going to the hibachi grills and teppanyaki and everything else. And I love cooking breakfast on Sunday mornings, and that is just perfect. I got to have one of those.
Right. Can you hold food? So if you've got a large family, and how does this value added to hold? If I have a lot of community or family or friends over, you can use that vehicle and use it as a warmer. In other words, I can use this to set this outside burner for low and put my meat or foods in the middle of this. And this acts as a humidor. You can put a lid on it, and your moisture control is up here in the top with this daisy wheel. It's more of a moisture control. I have a lot of customers. Hey, Bobby, where's the grease go? You get some fall off, but your access points for clean outs are right here. And they have little cups that you actually can line your coil, and you can actually slide out. No electricity is needed to this. It's battery op. They make it simple. It's what they do. Pros and cons. So many pros, we could go on and kill about an hour. The only con, and I'll tell you, where do I domicile or where do I set the lid at? Where does that go? It's like Captain America's shield. So that's one thing that you guys have done really well is like, hey, listen, we need that lid kit. There is a device that holds it. So where it would go would be probably on the end of this island. When I'm not using it, you want to think in advance of where to put the lid at. So
Good thought. So I see here in this cabinet that it's sticking out past the cooking island.
Yes.
Is it designed to do that all the time, or can you actually have the counter follow it around?
This is a great question. I'm glad you led me on this because I was going to bring that up next. 2 ways to build this down. You guys know Luter's stone comes out of Luter's, Texas. This is what they call a buff. It's a chiseled edge. Whenever we do a Luter's stone, the stone is so thick, it's hard. Can you do it? Yes, but it's hard to do a radius cut, so we'll always recommend the trim kit. It can be above. Now you're going to see more Evos that are flush, and it'll look like it's monolithic with the top. We see a lot of Decton now, higher-end man-made surfaces. Do you need this? Not exactly. You can omit this and then build this particular piece in to make it get a more of a contemporary and soft feel. As you look in this picture here with Buddy the Cake Guy or whatever, Buddy Velastro. This is built into a granite top, and we have some consumers that want that. They want that more that streamlined look and that contemporary and soft feel. They don't want it so bulky. But to answer your question, yes, it does come outside a little bit so I can access more of the center and back of the griddle itself. 2-zone system, interior and exterior burner.
Gotcha.
They make a built-in cover for this that you can cover this when not in use.
Okay. Awesome. Do you recommend having the storage below?
I do. The drawers are real popular because it's ease of use for your hard lines from flippers, cleaning kit, things like that that can go inside of here. And something that's really popular that I've seen with a lot of Clappy Islands is the under-counter lighting that we don't sell. The reason why is that really popular, you can see in the drawer systems at night, and then it gives them panache at nighttime versus what daytime can give you. It's a different look. So,
Have any of the manufacturers started making storage systems that actually have lighting in them, low voltage lighting in them?
They do. There's 2 types. There's one that has a low voltage lighting that's 12 volt, which Lynx makes, and that's their exclusive. That's a brand out of Mississippi. And then most of them have a motion activated watch battery in the drawer, and they last an extremely long time. And they found out that that's more ease of use and less strain on the power supply.
Makes sense.
Yeah, pointless wired. That's correct.